In a quaint village cradled by nature's serene embrace, Marcus Reed, a man renowned for his unwavering skepticism, is about to encounter an enigma that defies the very logic he holds dear. A centuries-old statue of the Virgin Mary, forgotten in the shadows of a neglected chapel, exudes a fragrance of roses that cannot be rationally explained. For a man who places his trust in only what can be measured and proven, this mystery heralds a journey that will challenge the very foundations of his understanding. Before we continue, tell us in the comments. Where are you watching from, and what time is it right now where you are? It's always fascinating to see how stories of mystery, faith, and the Virgin Mary reach hearts across the world at every hour. If stories that challenge reason and awaken faith intrigue you, subscribe so you don't miss what unfolds next. Marcus Reed had built his life on the bedrock of reason. As a historian famed for debunking myths and unraveling the truth behind ancient artifacts, he was the beacon people turned to for clarity. His sharp intellect and keen eye separated fact from fiction, reassuring those who sought his expertise. Yet beneath this veneer of rationality lay a heart hardened by life's relentless blows. The death of his beloved wife, Eleanor, had carved out an abyss of sorrow, and the distance of his grown children only deepened his solitude. Marcus found solace in the certainty of history, burying his grief in the tangible relics of the past. But the ache of loneliness lingered, a silent testament to the void that reason alone could not fill. On a crisp autumn morning, the sun painted the landscape in shades of gold, and Marcus sat, as was his custom, with coffee in hand, poring over ancient manuscripts. The phone's ring pierced the tranquil silence, heralding the call that would usher him into a realm beyond his wildest imaginings. "Mr. Reed, this is Margaret Linton," came the familiar voice. Margaret, a fellow historian and confidant, spoke with an excitement that tugged at Marcus's curiosity. "I hope I'm not disturbing you, but I've stumbled upon something extraordinary in the old chapel outside town. You need to see it." Though intrigued, Marcus tempered his expectations. The chapel had always seemed an unremarkable relic to him. "What is it?" he asked, anticipating a mundane response. "It's a statue," Margaret replied, her voice laced with awe. "A statue of the Virgin Mary, hidden for centuries. There's something peculiar about it." Statues in old chapels were hardly novel, Marcus mused. Yet something in Margaret's tone compelled him to agree to a visit that afternoon. As he navigated the winding country roads, the anticipation mirrored the shifting landscape outside his window. Upon reaching the chapel, Marcus was greeted by Margaret, whose expression was a blend of excitement and reverence. She led him through the dust-laden pews to where the statue stood, a depiction of the Virgin Mary carved from dark, aged wood, radiating unmatched grace. Yet, it was the scent, the intoxicating fragrance of roses, that truly unsettled Marcus, challenging his staunch reliance on empirical evidence. Standing before the statue, enveloped by a scent that defied explanation, Marcus reflected on the life that had led him to this moment. A life marked by loss, solitude, and an unwavering commitment to facts over faith. Yet now, with the fragrance of roses lingering in the air, Marcus faced an unbidden question. What if, amid the pages of history, there lurked mysteries that transcended the seen and the measured? This moment would become the genesis of a journey that would challenge not only his beliefs but his very understanding of faith itself. As Marcus stood before the statue, the fragrance of roses wrapped around him like a gentle embrace, refusing to dissipate from his senses. It was as if the scent had a voice, whispering truths that eluded the grasp of his logical mind. The echo of Margaret's footsteps faded away as she left him alone in the church, granting him the solitude he often craved yet now found unervingly hollow. Marcus was a man accustomed to the world of facts and figures, drawn to the comforting precision of equations and formulas. Yet here, in this ancient church, amidst the flickering candlelight and the silent gaze of the wooden Virgin, he felt the undercurrents of something profound and inexplicable. He inhaled deeply, as if the roses held the secrets he sought, then exhaled, steeling himself for the path he knew he must tread. The next morning, Marcus began his quest for answers. The village library, modest yet rich with history, became his sanctuary. He pored over dusty tomes and records, tracing the church's origins and the statue's mysterious past. Each page yielded stories of devotion and faith, yet no mention of the rose-scented anomaly he had experienced. His inquiries led him to the village's historian, an elderly man named Father Thomas, who greeted Marcus with a knowing smile and eyes that seemed to hold centuries of wisdom. "Ah, the scent of roses," Father Thomas mused, his voice a gentle rumble that filled the small study. "You're not the first to be captivated by it. The villagers say it's a sign of Mary's presence, a gift to remind us of her love and intercession." Marcus shifted uneasily in his chair. "But surely there's a logical explanation, perhaps a chemical reaction in the wood, or something in the air." Father Thomas chuckled softly, a sound that was more soothing than dismissive. "Science has its place, young man, but not everything can be measured or explained. Faith, you see, often dances on the edge of reason." Despite his skepticism, Marcus found himself drawn into the stories Father Thomas shared, tales of minor miracles attributed to the statue, of barren women who conceived, of the sick who found solace and healing. The villagers, Father Thomas explained, had come to see these as signs of divine grace, their faith bolstered by these quiet wonders. The stories spread through the village like a gentle tide, infusing the air with a palpable sense of hope. Children played with renewed vigor in the sun-dappled streets, and neighbors gathered in the evenings, sharing tales of the statue's miracles over warm bread and wine. The church began to fill with pilgrims, their whispered prayers adding to the sacred symphony that played continuously beneath the ancient rafters. Yet amidst this burgeoning faith, Marcus found himself caught in a tempest of doubt. Each piece of evidence he sought seemed to elude him, slipping through his fingers like sand. He watched as the villagers leaned into their faith, while he stood at the edge, unable to take that leap into the unknown. One afternoon, as the sun dipped low in the sky, casting a golden glow over the village, Marcus found himself walking the narrow path to the church once more. The doors creaked open, and he stepped inside, the familiar scent of roses greeting him like an old friend. He approached the statue, its serene face bathed in the soft glow of candlelight, and felt a stirring deep within him, a longing he could not name. He knelt before the Virgin, his hands clasped tightly together, and for the first time in many years, he allowed himself to pray. The words came haltingly, awkward on his tongue, but there was a sincerity in his plea, a desire to understand, to find peace in the midst of his turmoil. "Mother Mary," he whispered, his voice barely audible in the hallowed space, "if this is a sign, if there is something I am meant to see, show me. Help me to understand." As he knelt there, the fragrance of roses enveloped him once more, and for a moment, the world fell away. In the stillness, Marcus felt a warmth spread through his chest, a sensation akin to being held, and he realized with a start that he was not alone. Rising from his knees, He left the church with a heart that felt both heavy and light, a paradox he could not quite reconcile. The path that stretched before him was uncertain, but he knew he could no longer ignore the questions that had taken root within him. The fragrance of faith, it seemed, had begun to permeate his very soul, challenging him to seek beyond the seen and measured, to embrace the mysteries of the divine. As the days turned to weeks, Marcus continued his research, yet his quest had shifted. He sought not just answers, but understanding, a deeper connection to the stories that had woven themselves into the fabric of the village. He spoke with the villagers, listened to their tales with an open heart, and found himself slowly drawn into the web of faith that held them together. In the quiet moments of reflection, Marcus pondered the lessons hidden within the narratives of the saints and the teachings of the church. He considered the nature of miracles, not as disruptions of the natural order, but as glimpses of the divine, reflections of a love that transcended human comprehension. The transformation within Marcus was subtle, a gentle unfolding rather than a dramatic conversion. Yet it was profound, a testament to the power of faith to change even the most steadfast of hearts. And as he stood once more before the statue, the fragrance of roses filling the air, he realized that the journey he had embarked upon was not about finding definitive answers, but about learning to embrace the mystery, to find peace in the questions that remained. The road ahead was still shrouded in uncertainty, but Marcus felt a newfound sense of purpose. The fragrance of faith had become a guiding light, illuminating a path that promised not only understanding but a deeper, richer connection to the divine. And as he stepped into the future, he carried with him the hope that, in the end, faith would lead him to the truth he sought. As the days turned into weeks, Marcus found himself ensnared in a web of uncertainty. His investigation into the mysteries surrounding the Virgin Mary statue had reached an impasse. Every lead he pursued seemed to circle back to the same stories of inexplicable healings and spiritual awakenings among the villagers' accounts that, to his astonishment, began to resonate within him. These tales, once dismissed as mere folklore, stirred something deep within Marcus, awakening emotions he had long buried beneath layers of skepticism. He found himself lingering longer in the village, drawn to the warmth and sincerity of the locals. Their unwavering faith began to chip away at the walls he had built around his heart. One evening, Marcus decided to visit the chapel alone, hoping to find clarity in solitude. The chapel, bathed in the soft glow of candlelight, offered a quiet sanctuary from the turmoil within him. As he entered, the familiar scent of roses enveloped him, a gentle reminder of the divine presence that seemed to permeate this sacred space. He approached the statue of the Virgin Mary, her serene gaze inviting contemplation. Marcus stood before her, grappling with the possibility of divine intervention, a notion that both unsettled and comforted him. His mind, trained to seek evidence and logic, struggled to reconcile the intangible with the tangible. Kneeling on the worn wooden pew, Marcus closed his eyes, allowing the silence to envelop him. In that moment, he felt an inexplicable peace wash over him, a soothing balm to his troubled thoughts. It was as if the very essence of faith had seeped into his soul, urging him to surrender to the mystery rather than resist it. "Is it possible?" he whispered, his voice barely audible in the stillness of the chapel. "Could all of this truly be the work of something greater than ourselves?" As if in response, a gentle breeze swept through the chapel, rustling the pages of an open hymnal and caressing his cheek. It was a subtle yet profound reminder of the divine presence that seemed to linger in this place. Marcus's skepticism wavered, and for the first time, he allowed himself to entertain the notion that perhaps there was more to life than what could be seen or understood. The stories of the villagers' miraculous experiences no longer felt like mere fabrications. They became threads in a tapestry of faith that was slowly enveloping him. Despite the solace he found in the chapel, Marcus couldn't ignore the growing sense of isolation that accompanied his internal struggle. He had always prided himself on his independence, yet now he yearned for connection, for someone to share in this journey of discovery. The villagers, with their open hearts and unwavering belief, had become more than subjects of his investigation. They were companions on a path that was becoming increasingly difficult to navigate alone. He longed for their companionship, their wisdom, and their unwavering faith to guide him through the fog of doubt. As he left the chapel, Marcus felt a subtle shift within himself. The rigid beliefs that had once defined him were beginning to unravel, replaced by an openness to the unknown. It was a turning point, a moment of surrender to the mysteries that lay beyond human understanding. In the days that followed, Marcus continued to immerse himself in the village life, attending Mass with the locals and listening with newfound attentiveness to their stories of faith and redemption. He found himself drawn to Father Peter, the village priest, whose gentle demeanor and profound wisdom provided a comforting presence. One afternoon, after a particularly moving Mass, Marcus approached Father Peter with a question that had been weighing heavily on his heart. "Father," he began hesitantly, "how do you reconcile faith with doubt? How do you find peace in the questions that remain unanswered?" Father Peter regarded him with a knowing smile, his eyes reflecting the depth of his understanding. "Ah, my son, faith is not the absence of doubt, but the courage to embrace it. It is in the questions that we find growth and transformation. The journey of faith is not about having all the answers, but about trusting in the one who holds them." Marcus nodded, the priest's words resonating deeply within him. He realized that this journey was not about finding certainty, but about learning to walk in the light of faith, even when the path ahead seemed obscured. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the village, Marcus felt a renewed sense of purpose. The fragrance of faith, once elusive and intangible, had become a guiding light, illuminating a path that promised not only understanding but a deeper, richer connection to the divine. And as he stepped into the future, he carried with him the hope that, in the end, faith would lead him to the truth he sought, a truth that transcended human comprehension, yet spoke to the very core of his being. The road ahead was still shrouded in uncertainty, but Marcus was no longer afraid. Embracing the mystery, he found peace in the questions that remained, and in the quiet whispers of the heart, he discovered the presence of the divine, ever faithful and ever near. As the village awoke to the gentle embrace of dawn, the chapel stood as a beacon of hope, its steeple reaching towards the heavens like an outstretched hand. The morning sun cast warm hues through the stained glass windows, painting the interior with colors that danced and shimmered, a symphony of light that echoed the divine beauty Marcus had come to cherish. He found solace in the serenity of the chapel, a sanctuary where the fragrance of roses lingered, weaving through the air like a prayer. Marcus had become a familiar figure within the community, his presence a comforting reminder of faith's enduring promise. The villagers, once wary of outsiders, now welcomed him with open arms, sharing their stories of hope and healing. Each tale was a testament to the transformative power of faith, a narrative woven with threads of resilience and grace. As Marcus listened, he felt a deep sense of belonging, his heart swelling with the warmth of shared humanity. One morning, as the village gathered for Mass, Father Thomas greeted the congregation with a gentle smile. His voice, resonant and soothing, filled the chapel as he spoke of the mysteries of faith, urging the community to embrace the unknown with open hearts. In our journey, he began, we encounter moments that challenge our understanding, times when the path before us is cloaked in shadow. Yet it is in these moments of mystery that we find the opportunity to grow, to deepen our connection to the divine. After the service, Marcus lingered in the chapel, drawn to the stories that unfolded like petals of a blooming rose. He listened to Maria, a young mother whose son had been miraculously healed from a grave illness. Her eyes shone with gratitude as she recounted the night she had knelt in prayer, her heart aching with fear, only to find her pleas answered in unexpected ways. It was as if the Lord had whispered to my heart, Maria said, her voice trembling with emotion. I realized then that faith is not about certainty, but about trust. Trusting that in the absence of answers, God's love remains steadfast. Her words resonated deeply within Marcus, echoing his own journey, a path marked by questions and the quiet assurance that faith was enough. He found himself reaching out to others, sharing his own story, his struggles, and the peace he had found in surrendering to the divine mystery. In the afternoons, Marcus often wandered to the village square, where children played with carefree laughter, their joy a poignant reminder of innocence and hope. He watched them with a bittersweet longing, thinking of his own children, now grown and scattered across distant cities. The years and his own missteps had strained their relationships, leaving gaps that seemed insurmountable. But the fragrance of roses had become a symbol of renewal and forgiveness, urging him to mend what had been broken. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with hues of amber and gold, Marcus found the courage to reach out. He dialed the number of his eldest daughter, his hands trembling slightly, his heart pounding with anticipation. Hello! Her voice, familiar yet distant, echoed through the line, bridging the chasm of years and silence. Hi, Anna. It's Dad, Marcus replied, his voice thick with emotion. He paused, searching for the right words. I know it's been a while, and I haven't been the father you deserved. I just wanted to say I'm sorry and that I miss you. There was a moment of silence, a pause that stretched across the miles. Then, to Marcus's relief, Anna spoke, her voice softening. I miss you too, Dad. We all do. They talked for what felt like hours, sharing stories and laughter, rebuilding the bond that had once seemed irretrievably lost. As Marcus hung up, he felt a sense of peace wash over him, a whisper of grace in the quiet of the evening. The days turned into weeks, and Marcus continued to find joy in the community's embrace. The chapel became a gathering place, not just for worship, but for sharing lives and dreams. The fragrance of roses, now a constant presence, seemed to fill every corner, a reminder of the beauty found in embracing life's mysteries. One afternoon, as Marcus sat in the chapel, Father Thomas joined him, a knowing smile playing on his lips. "You've found your place here, haven't you?" he asked, his eyes twinkling with understanding. Marcus nodded, his heart full. "I have. This community, this journey, it's taught me so much about faith and love, about finding peace in the questions and in the connections we forge." Father Thomas placed a reassuring hand on Marcus's shoulder. Faith is a journey, not a destination. It's about walking the path with an open heart, trusting that the divine is present in every step, even when we cannot see the way. As Marcus gazed at the stained glass windows, their colors vibrant and alive, he realized that his journey was far from over. There were still mysteries to embrace, questions to ponder, and stories to share. But for the first time in his life, he felt truly at peace, knowing that faith would guide him through whatever lay ahead. And as the sun set over the village, casting a golden glow over the landscape, Marcus stepped into the future with hope, a hope rooted in the enduring promise of faith, in the love of a community that had welcomed him home, and in the fragrance of roses that whispered of grace and redemption. In the quiet moments, as the stars began to appear in the night sky, Marcus offered a silent prayer of gratitude, his heart full of the sacred emotion that had come to define his journey. He knew that the road ahead would hold its own challenges and joys, but he was no longer afraid. Embracing the mystery, he had found his place in the tapestry of faith, a journey that promised to lead him ever closer to the divine truth he sought. As the first light of dawn broke over the village, casting gentle hues of pink and gold across the sky, Marcus awoke with a profound sense of anticipation. It was as if the day itself held a promise, a whisper of grace carried on the morning breeze. He rose quietly, careful not to disturb the peaceful slumber of his children, and stepped outside to greet the new day. The village was already stirring. The familiar sounds of roosters crowing and the distant clatter of wheels on cobblestones filled the air. Marcus found himself drawn to the statue at the heart of the village, the beacon of faith that had become so integral to his journey. Its serene expression seemed to reflect an eternal wisdom, a silent testament to the mysteries of faith that he had only begun to understand. Standing before it, Marcus felt a stirring in his soul, a sense of release from the burdens of doubt that had long shadowed his heart. He closed his eyes, allowing the cool morning air to wash over him, and offered a simple prayer of gratitude. In that moment, he acknowledged the limitations of his skepticism, realizing that some truths lay beyond the reach of reason, residing instead in the realm of the heart. As he opened his eyes, Marcus noticed Father Gabriel approaching. The priest's presence was always a source of comfort, his gentle demeanor and unwavering faith serving as a guiding light for the village. They exchanged greetings, and Father Gabriel's eyes twinkled with an understanding that transcended words. "Marcus," Father Gabriel began, his voice a soothing balm in the stillness of the morning, "I've seen a change in you. There is a peace about you that wasn't there before." Marcus nodded, a smile playing at the corners of his lips. "I've come to realize that faith is not about having all the answers. It's about being open to the mysteries, to the things we cannot explain but feel deeply in our hearts." Father Gabriel placed a reassuring hand on Marcus's shoulder. "Exactly. Faith is a journey, not a destination. It's about trusting in the love that surrounds us, even when we can't see the path ahead clearly." Their conversation was interrupted by the sound of laughter. Marcus turned to see his children running toward him, their faces alight with joy. His heart swelled with love, and he knelt down to embrace them, feeling the warmth of their small arms around him. "Dad, can we go see the statue?" his daughter, Lily, asked, her eyes wide with wonder. Marcus chuckled softly. "Of course, my dear. Let's go together." As they approached the statue, Marcus marveled at the way his children's eyes sparkled with curiosity and awe. It reminded him of his own childhood, of the days when the world was full of magic and possibility. He realized that he had a choice to nurture this sense of wonder in his children and in himself, to embrace the unknown with an open heart. Throughout the day, Marcus found himself reflecting on his relationships with his children. He had been so consumed by his own doubts and struggles that he had often overlooked the simple joys of being a father. But now, with his heart open to the possibility of reconciliation and love, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. Later that afternoon, as the sun began its descent toward the horizon, Marcus gathered his children and made his way to the village square. A small crowd had gathered, drawn by the presence of the statue and the promise of an evening of community and connection. The air was filled with the sweet scent of blooming flowers and the sound of gentle conversations. Marcus watched as Father Gabriel addressed the crowd, speaking of faith and hope, of the importance of coming together in times of uncertainty. His words resonated deeply with Marcus, who felt a sense of belonging that he had not experienced in years. As the evening wore on, Marcus found himself engaged in heartfelt conversations with his fellow villagers. He listened to their stories, shared in their joys and sorrows, and felt the threads of community weaving themselves into the fabric of his soul. It was a tapestry of faith and love, one that he was grateful to be a part of. As the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, Marcus stood before the statue once more, his children by his side. He took a deep breath, feeling the sacred emotion that had come to define his journey welling up within him. "Dad," Lily said softly, breaking the silence, "I think the statue is like a reminder that we're never alone, even when things seem hard." Marcus smiled, his heart full of gratitude for the wisdom of his child. "You're right, Lily. It's a reminder that love and faith are always with us, guiding us through life's challenges." In that moment, Marcus felt a profound sense of reconciliation not only with his faith but with himself and his children. He realized that the journey of faith was not about finding all the answers, but about embracing the complexities of life with an open heart and a spirit of gratitude. As he looked up at the statue, its serene expression bathed in the soft glow of the moonlight, Marcus knew that he had found his place in the world. It was a place of wonder and inspiration, of love and connection, a place where the intangible aspects of existence could be truly appreciated. With a final prayer of thanks, Marcus turned to his children, their faces illuminated by the gentle light of the stars. He felt a sense of peace, knowing that the road ahead would hold its own challenges and joys, but that he was no longer afraid. Together, they walked hand in hand into the night, their hearts full of hope and faith, ready to embrace whatever the future might hold. As the first light of dawn crept over the horizon, Marcus awoke with a sense of anticipation. Today was a special day in the village, a gathering at the chapel, where neighbors and friends would come together to celebrate the community that had become a sanctuary for so many, including Marcus and his family. The chapel, with its modest stone exterior, stood at the heart of the village, a beacon of hope and faith that had witnessed countless stories of joy and sorrow, redemption and grace. As Marcus approached the chapel, the familiar scent of roses, both subtle and profound, filled the air, a reminder of the mysterious statue that had sparked his own journey of faith. Inside, the chapel was alive with the soft murmur of voices, the gentle rustle of people finding their seats, and the warm glow of candlelight reflecting off stained glass windows. The statue, standing serenely at the altar, continued to inspire awe and reverence. Its presence had become a symbol of the divine mysteries that Marcus had learned to embrace, mysteries that transcended human understanding yet spoke deeply to the heart. Marcus found a seat near the front, his children settling beside him with the wide-eyed curiosity that only the young possess. As the gathering began, the village priest, Father Thomas, stood to address the congregation. His voice, gentle yet resonant, carried through the chapel with a sense of calm authority. "Welcome, my dear friends, to this blessed day," Father Thomas began, his eyes scanning the room, meeting the gaze of each person with warmth. "We gather here not just to celebrate our community, but to reflect on the faith that binds us together, the hope that guides us, and the love that sustains us." As Father Thomas spoke, Marcus found himself reflecting on his own journey. He thought of the moments of doubt and confusion, the struggles and questions that had once consumed him. But he also remembered the moments of clarity and peace, the sense of belonging and purpose he had found in this village, in this chapel. He realized that he did not need to fully understand the mysteries surrounding the statue to appreciate its impact on his life. It was enough to accept them, to let them inspire and guide him. Father Thomas continued, sharing stories from the community, tales of kindness and resilience, of small miracles that had touched the lives of those gathered. Marcus listened, his heart swelling with gratitude for the connections he had forged, the friendships that had grown from shared experiences and mutual support. As the service drew to a close, Father Thomas invited the congregation to share in a moment of silent prayer. Marcus bowed his head, his thoughts turning inward, offering a prayer of thanks for the journey that had brought him here, for the love of his family, and for the newfound faith that filled his heart. After the service, the village gathered outside the chapel, the air alive with laughter and conversation. Marcus stood with his children, watching as they played with other children, their laughter mingling with the joyous sounds of the gathering. He felt a profound sense of contentment, knowing that this community was now a part of his family's story, a tapestry woven with threads of faith and love. As the festivities continued, Marcus took a moment to step away from the crowd, finding a quiet spot beneath a blooming rose bush. The fragrance enveloped him, a reminder of the divine presence that had been with him every step of the way. He closed his eyes, breathing deeply, feeling a sense of peace settle over him. In that quiet moment, Marcus understood that his journey of faith was not about finding definitive answers, but about embracing the uncertainties with an open heart. It was about recognizing the miracles of everyday life, the beauty of human connection, and the enduring power of belief. Returning to the gathering, Marcus was greeted by friends and neighbors, their smiles and kind words reinforcing the sense of community that had become so precious to him. He joined in the celebrations, sharing stories and laughter, feeling a deep sense of belonging. As the day drew to a close and the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the village, Marcus stood with his family, their faces illuminated by the golden light. He felt a profound sense of gratitude for the journey that had brought him here, for the faith that had been renewed, and for the love that surrounded him. In that moment, Marcus knew he was ready to face the future with an open mind and heart, embodying the Catholic message of faith, hope, and love. The lingering scent of roses, a symbol of the enduring power of belief and the miracles of the human heart, filled the air as Marcus and his family walked hand in hand into the twilight, their hearts full of hope and faith, ready to embrace whatever the future might hold. And so, with the chapel standing as a testament to the journey of faith, Marcus found peace in the embrace of his community, his transformation complete. The narrative of his life continued, woven with threads of grace and redemption, a story of faith that would endure through the ages. Before you go, share with us in the comments. Where are you watching from, and what time is it right now where you are? It's amazing how stories that challenge reason and awaken faith can reach hearts across the world, at every hour. If Marcus's journey moved you, subscribe for more stories of mystery, devotion, and the Virgin Mary's gentle presence.